Hello, Arisht Fáilte go music at Madden's Leomsa Lynette Faye. You're very welcome to the Music at Madden's podcast, which drops each Monday. And when I have you, I will want you to do me a wee favour. If you're enjoying the podcasts, even maybe this is the first one you've come across, would you like and rate and maybe subscribe to the podcast for us, please? And please share as well with your networks, particularly on social media, because all of those likes and shares all help us to keep this podcast going and to attract wonderful guests to come into the Snug and have a chat about their life in the world of traditional and folk music. Now, who is in the Snug today? Let's find out. In the Snug today, a troubadour, a storyteller, a poet, a truth teller as well, I would say, and a man who is sitting here ready to do his first podcast. I'm delighted for popping your cherry. David Keenan, you're very welcome.
I didn't want to say it and you got there before me, so just to that call, Arish.
Just a sec, Arish Foster, to Mila Fáilte Road, David. Agus Willis look at Shaw. There's so many places we could start. Like all these conversations, that's what I love about it. We've just been chatting before. We could pick up where we were chatting from. But I thought there's only one place to start with you, and that is El Paso. The place, the song, the 14-year-old lad writing songs. Because that was the first song you wrote, was El Paso. Now, for those who are not familiar with the term or the place, what does El Paso refer to?
Well, it refers to, I think, during the Troubles, it was a nickname given by the British soldiers to that area, Dundalk, South Armagh, the Wild West, El Paso, Texas, it's on the border. Mm-hmm. I think at one point it was probably a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Or people in Dundalk would say, what are you calling it, El Paso? You're giving us a bad name. We've a bad name already. But it's a term of endearment, since I was a kid, a sense of belonging. And I love, I going into it, like it's on the border. It's on the border comes up a lot in my songs. Probably the border between, sanity and madness, and the border between, darkness and light.
In between worlds.
It's a psychological border as well as a physical border and a geographical border and all that,
Yeah.
But I was writing songs. I was scratching away doing sketches, writing songs before that. But I remember writing El Paso and thinking inwardly, there's something in this just for me and my friends to sing at the weekend, because I was always looking for a sense of belonging.
Yeah, and that sense of seeing yourself in something, identifying with something. You clearly identified with El Paso and what it represented to you in that 14-year-old lad. Give us a sense of what that was, David.
It was a sense of being an outsider and looking for a tribe, and I used to go to the Dundalk matches. It was just to be a part of something. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the language, I didn't have the songs yet to express myself, but to stand there in a crowd and scream. I think that's why most young lads go to football matches. It's to feel like they're part of something, to feel a sense of belonging. So I wrote that song to sing with my friends at the weekend at underage gigs that used to be held in the sports bowl in the bowling alley. And it just kind of sat there and stirred, and it was there for a few years. But I don't know, this is my experience. Growing up in Dundalk, I always felt like an outsider in the bigger picture, And especially starting out singing in my own accent. Nobody was singing in their own accent, apart from maybe Damien Dempsey or Jinx Lennon, Mm-hmm. And I had a kind of chip on both shoulders growing up, because I felt like an outsider even in the home, And music was my way of getting some autonomy into my life and get a voice, Yeah. I even struggle now with this padlock that comes on my throat, And music helps me express.
Just when you're talking there about, feeling like an outsider in your own town, and we'll get to the new album just for today in a minute or two. But there's a couple of lines on the album. There's one with or maybe it's a different song. I was listening to a lot of your music before chatting to you today. But there's one about the notions. You tapping into that idea of having notions, daring to wear the sunglasses up the street, and then the abuse being shouted at you.
Yeah.
And then the idea of singing in your own accent, though, that's kind of, it's very trendy now.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that a lot of people are embracing. I don't know whether that's trendy is the right way to, if that's the right way to put it, but it seems that people have maybe cast off whatever shackles were associated with singing in your own accent and recognize that that's only something we should be proud of, is where we're from and who we are, because it comes out in the sounds you make out of your mouth.
Ah, it does, yeah. And like growing up, everyone was mad about American culture and American music, and because it was rammed down our throats, you know.
We
And
couldn't say that though.
yeah, well, I suppose the luxury of passing the time, and
Yeah.
maybe there isn't that same post-colonial hangover that there was with a couple of generations before. There's a confidence, there's that money, you know. But like, it's changing. There seems to be more openness. You know, there's more willingness to be open minded with music and influences and clothes and you know, me walking down the street putting on the sunglasses. Who's your man Keenan think he is wearing the sunglasses? You know, it's happening in my head as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's the voice within. It's the internal critic saying to me, you know, you want to get too big for your boots. And who do you think you are, Bono wearing them sunglasses?
But
Calm
how long?
down.
What was your retort to the boys wearing the sunglasses?
Well, it was stay to your car, man.
That was the line. That was the line.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
You're one to be talking.
Driving a ball of scrap and you're giving out about my shades, you know? But listen, you have to laugh.
Oh, but the thing is, that could happen in any town in Ireland, and does happen in many towns in Ireland.
Well, see, it's a bit of crack.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
a bit of crack, and there's a kind of a crackometer, and then a bit of crack might go into, oh, that's not on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that might go into the begrudgery.
Yeah,
And then you're living your life for the three lads in the corner of the bar that will always be at the corner of the bar.
yeah,
They're in the head as well. Mm-hmm. But they're real people too. But you have to grow. That's the thing. Like, I always wanted to get out and see the world, you know. And I left school when I was 16, and there was no money for college or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? And there was very little expectations. So my only out really was music. You know, I had a glass jaw, so I was never going to make it as a boxer, and was terrible as a footballer, so I was never going to make it in sport. So music was the thing for me, you know.
Did you find a sense of belonging in music at a very early age?
Yeah, because it was this private world, like, you know. I still get great relief from nature. So I go out for walks on my own. My grandfather used to bring me for walks with his dog. I got a love for nature and that pace, you know. And then I go out on my own on these just adventures, and songs would just start forming in my head, you know. So it was a private world. When you're a young person, you don't have much autonomy. So you look for places where you can build that. And, you know, the world of imagination and songwriting and music and literature and poetry, it's something that came for me in school, a place that I was terrified, or, you know, I'd use my words to give myself a bit more power. You know, I'd slag some other people off to make myself feel power. But that doesn't work. You can't move through life like that. But the local library in Dundalk, I remember discovering the First World War poets, Wilfred Owen and Sassoon, and they were fighting for the British, and they were calling out this whole notion of, you know, the futility of war, and you're sacrificing yourself for this ideal or for the protection of people in power that don't give a shit about you. So they were calling it hypocrisy, and Jinx Lennon was calling it hypocrisy. You know, so I was discovering people in music that were pulling off masks.
Yeah.
Like you said, truth tellers.
Yeah.
They were the real leaders. There's no leaders in government, or there was no leaders that I could see. The leaders that I could see were in sport or in music, because they were actually living it. They weren't just talking the talk, you know.
Or in the pages of the book in the library.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that young David going to the library and discovering those books, you know, and the world that it opened up to you.
I didn't even understand it, all of it. Like the beat poets, Jack Kerouac and Burroughs and, you know, Sylvia Plath and people like that. I didn't really even understand it. But it was that thing. If you go to another country and you don't speak the language, but you're listening to the traditional music, you're listening to the music, it's hitting you here in the chest. Mm-hmm. It's hitting you here, and it's resonating with you. I was getting that from these pages. And then I started to, you know, you spend more time with it, you start to understand it more. You copy. And then you start developing your own voice, you know, and practicing, and over time. Like, I've been writing songs for the majority of my life. You know, it's a craft, and brick by brick, you start developing your own sense of who you are. Then you might get lost for a while. You have to come back out onto the main road again and find yourself, you know. And that'll happen probably again and again in life.
Yeah.
But music and art is the kind of, it's like the life jacket.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's the spine to everything as well, and the thing that you keep going back to,
Yeah.
and that you'll build yourself upon. Or I suppose the cornerstone and foundation of everything you are. Those days out with your granda in nature. Your granddad was a great storyteller as well, and wasn't he one of the people who told you to sing in your own voice?
Yeah, he did. He said, you know, it's your own accent, you know, use it, singing it, you know. I was probably melting his head with, you know, trying to be an Aldi Pete Doherty or something when I was about 12, you know. But he was, again, just being in his presence, you know, it was like, he was an angel for me, my grandfather, you know, a soulmate, you know. And, you know, I get emotional even talking about him.
That's a really special relationship, though, for any child to have, is with a grandparent like that, because it's supposed to be a different relationship. I know the rule in our house was, someone told me, and it was something someone else had told them, that what happens in the grandparents' house is absolutely none of your business, because there's supposed to be those wee rules and those wee understandings between a child and a grandparent, where, I don't know, there's just a special bond forms, and you have to let it. And it seems to have, it has happened in your case.
Well, I was lucky, you know, and I'm sure he was a different man for his own kids. But he'd mellowed, you know, by the time I came along. I think I probably gave him a new lease of life. And we kind of walked through life together, you know. But even the rhythm of walking behind him with the dogs, the pace, you know, you get to see more. We weren't rushing around, we weren't rushing anywhere. And he would kind of become a giant in telling a story. You know, he was a small man, but he'd become like this. His whole anatomy would even change. So I saw cause and effect there, what storytelling brings, you know, how he'd light up. And you know, you're attracted to that, you know what I mean? So it was just a privilege. I mean, the older generation doesn't really get a look in now, but there's so much to learn. You know, if you just listen, you know,
It's
just listen.
so true.
Listen.
It's like 2 ears, 1 mouth.
Yeah.
Goes back to that old adage: listen 80% of the time, talk 20% of the time, and you'll be a completely different person and see the world in a completely different way.
Yeah.
But it's taken you a while to, would I be right in saying it that all said though, it's taken you a while to recognise that was actually right under your nose, whether it be in nature, whether it be in Dundalk, whether it be in history. And I suppose it brings me on to the film you made with Paddy Hayes in Focla or Canwas, where you took on the story of Oriel, the ancient kingdom of Oriel and Tainbach, which is magical. And I only ever kind of presume that if you're from that area and then you get it, and maybe even when you're new to it, even when you're from the area, the sense of connection must be something else.
Yeah, I mean, it was like to really tune in to the Cooley Mountains and the peninsula and the jumping wall and RD. You know, it jumped to keep the grave of an unbeliever out. All these kind of myths and local lore. Even the Magic Road. It was like an episode of Father Ted where I was in the car. I was driving backwards up the hill. Do you know, like the element of divilment in Irish folklore.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to see it. And then, you know, like, to get the confidence with the language again, because I got some support, you know. You know, I had no excuse. I was given an opportunity to tell my life story as Gaeilge, you know. So I had to step in and do that justice by going back to school with it.
But why do you think you were in the right place to take on that opportunity? Because, you know, depending on where you are in life, when an opportunity presents itself, you don't always see it and you don't always grasp it and go with it. But what was it about where you were in life at that point when you were presented with an opportunity to tell your story as Gaelic? You gave yourself, you went with the challenge, lent into getting back with the language. What did you hope to get out of it?
I think I was crying out internally for, again, that sense of belonging and identity, you know, because I went to a Gael school Dundalk, then Kyle McCudgemore McGilligan or Hamish Jackson Manskull. I lost a lot of it in secondary school. And then you don't get, you lose the confidence. You think, oh, these guys are all fluent, they grew up in Gaeltachts, you know. But it was a sense of belonging and looking for, just to get real with my own experience, because the film starts with me in the Olympia just before the first album came out, you know, and confetti and the sold out room and aerial artists and intermissions and, you know, the big, that was it, you know, that was getting to the top of Slieve Gullion, do you know what I mean? And then I realised that, I kind of imploded mentally because my mental health exploded and COVID happened and addiction like just got me in the grip, do you know what I mean? And the things that I had relied on to distract myself from the stuff that I was burying for years, touring, drinking drugs, you know, that all just came back. Like it became overwhelmed. It was like a tsunami. And you think that when you get into music, it's all about the art and everybody feels that way. And then you meet people and they take advantage of you, you know, and you make mistakes yourself and you're selfish and you're egotistical and you destroy relationships and you have to live with that. And then you realise that, you know, this is algorithm and blues. Like, this isn't fair. It's not a fair playing field. Not that life is, you know, life can be cruel. But you think you're just going to write your songs and be able to make records and, you know, it's like the 60s and you have autonomy. You can be like Dylan, you can be like Joni Mitchell, and you can just put out records. But it's totally changed. Do you know what I mean? So that was a whole ego death that I had to come around from, and it was a fork in the road. You go one way or the other. Do I go deeper down into that? Do you know? Or do I try to face some home truths about myself and try to live a different way? And that was a painful kind of journey and a humbling journey, you know.
Do you think though that you know, the addiction came with you or came at you and took hold of you? Because at the start of your career there was an awful lot of talk about David Keenan and he's going to be this and he's going to be that, and you were the shiny new thing, you know, and people wanted, the industry wanted a piece of you because you were going to be this and going to be that. Was that you processing all of that? Is that how you processed it?
It was like an anesthetic, but all that stuff was there before I even took a drink. All that stuff within me, all the things that was askew in me, it was all there from when I was a child, you know. It's just that when you get older and you start growing, this stuff grows with you unless you deal with it and face it, you know. So I was predestined. I think we're all predestined to go on whatever path that we're meant to go on, and we have opportunities, I think, to face these dragons in our lives, to slay them or to let them consume us, you know. And that was one of them. But I'm a very, believe it or not, a very shy person. Even I love pubs, but I haven't drank in a couple of years. So I miss that. But now I can go in and I'm with friends, and I love the pub. I love the wood in pubs, and I love the light. The lighting is generally much better in a pub than a coffee shop now, because the music's blaring. I'm sensitive to all that stuff, the lighting and the music. So a lot of my songs are kind of putting everything out there anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because vulnerability is a strength. In an age now of this whole manosphere stuff, right? I think men need to step up with their vulnerability, not ram it down people's throats, but just live it, embody it. But you don't see enough of that when you're a young man, you know? So I didn't know what to do with all these parts of myself. You know, it was
down they went.
Down they went, yeah. And I put them out in songs. But it was all kind of open-chested for everybody else. But
without you processing anything, really?
Well, there was no kind of minding myself in and amongst it all.
Yeah.
You know, my only practice was to gig all the time, you know, give all these kind of intimacies away in my songs. And when the gig was over, get wrecked, you know?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Then what happens when you stop?
Yeah.
And it's when you stop in that silence that you can't deal with it. And that's when it's all going to come bubbling to the surface.
Yeah.
And it's obviously taken hold of you.
Yeah.
So you find yourself at the crossroads. You could have, on the fork in the road, you could have gone down the road of drinking drugs. You could have done all that and you could have kept going, fooling yourself that you were dead on, kept writing the songs, banging out the hits, going on the tours, living the circus life if you wanted to. But something brought you down this road of Foch letter canvas, really examining your life.
Yeah.
And would I be right in saying that you reconnected with your local area in a way that you'd never done before? Like, would you have grown up, in El Paso, knowing that side of Dundalk's history, but you mightn't necessarily known, anything about the coolies or the town Balchulinia, or you'd been aware of it maybe, but not in any sort of detail?
I think just in every aspect of my life, looking for a deeper connection, a deeper level of meaning and purpose. Because you get distracted by all the surface stuff, and it just doesn't fill you up. It might distract you for a while, but luckily enough, like, I grew up next to Cuchulainn Stone, and my uncle lived in Cooley. He was married to a woman from out there. The Fane River. My uncle was big into history, so I was so lucky.
You could go to the source.
To be in that melting pot, of mythology. And when you're in the middle of it all, when you're in the Cooley Mountains, like, it's not mythology. You're right there in the middle of it. It's as real as this chat that we're having. You can feel it, like it's tangible, But the whole El Paso thing, like when that video came out with Maxi, Lord of Mercy on him, I was cringing at myself, because I was, locked in the passenger seat. The voice is gone, and I had all this ambition in me. Everybody, if you have to believe in yourself, you have to. So I had all this ambition in me, and I had all these other songs that I'd written from the age of 14 to 21 when that happened. And it was like, I was told in many different ways, you'll never amount to nothing. Do you know what I mean? So I had all these. I wanted to prove myself. So I wanted to run away from that young lad in the taxi, because I was ashamed. But I carried a lot of that stuff anyway. But this documentary helped me come back to that, to be proud of that kid, to be proud of the 14-year-old in the bedroom writing songs, dreaming all the time, dreaming when, things were grim, dreaming, and that idealism and that romanticism, that's been suffocated now, I think, in many areas in society. Everything now is kind of, there's so much kind of irony and absurdity and
cynicism.
We need the dreaming now more than ever, like that idealism.
It's almost like an escape now, isn't it? From the realities of the world. Yeah,
it's practical. Like for me, like writing is a practical tool of keeping some sort of sanity.
Yeah. It's mindfulness, really, isn't it? You were talking there about, keeping the feelings down, pushing them down.
This is very deep. I'm sorry for bringing you down.
It's fantastic.
Down into the hard stuff.
No, because it's bringing me to your new album beautifully. Just for Today, which the story of Just for Today in itself is extraordinary. And that song, Healing After the Harm, after what you've just described there, I'm going, that song's been knocking about in your head or on a page or something for an awful long time. Yeah. But that song, like, it hits you between the eyes.
Well, I was writing that during that take.
Right.
That was maybe the third take. And I had the lyrics, but I wasn't sure of the tune, like. So the version that you hear is me kind of, it was all very of the moment, like,
But that's the magic of this album, David. You captured it, like, and I didn't even know it. I was really drawn to the energy of the album in the first place.
Yeah.
And then when I read it around it, I realised that on the 6th of February, which was only a couple of weeks ago, you went to the studio. So talk us through your day that day, David. Take us back to the 6th of February, 2026.
Roll it there. Well, the studio is my happy place. Because I love going in, and I always have loads of songs and ideas kind of knocking around my head. So every few months I need to get them out of the head.
Yeah.
So Keen Sinnott, a friend of mine in Dublin, I had booked an afternoon with him, like a half day. So on the way into the studio, I was looking at the phone, and Bandcamp's great for independent artists, So it was Bandcamp Friday, and I thought, it was just in the back of my head, like a little seed. Just maybe we might get a couple of songs out. If we can mix it and stuff. And then after a couple of songs, we did a couple more, 6 or 7, and then it was like, and then Megan McCrory came in.
Was she just hanging about? Like,
she wasn't here at this point.
Right, okay.
She came in, I think, around 1:30.
Right.
and we did Just for Today. And then we were kind of joking around going, will we put this out as an album? I was like, oh, yeah, we'll put it out as an album. And then it was kind of like, and then me and Megan were chatting actually about the whole industry thing of, no, you have to have a campaign and it has to be 6 months. And if you're a musician or a writer or any kind of artist, you can't sit tight. You're bursting. Like, you can't sit and be told, you go in and wash a few pots, go underground, go off the charts until we tell you to put your music out into the world. Like, that system is kind of, it doesn't suit me, you know? So anyway, we got it up on Bandcamp by 4 p.m. or whatever. So I don't know if there's any Guinness World Record enthusiasts watching this podcast, but might be in for a ribbon or something for that. But it's very freeing. It was just like, let it go, don't overthink it. The songs are feeling good. Yeah, it's an acoustic record. But it's again, it's hitting you in the chest. So
it totally hit you in the chest. And I wondered then, when you wrote the song Just for Today, had you all the songs written before you went into the studio, or were you writing as you were performing?
Well, there's Healing After the Harm. I was kind of writing the chords for that, but I have them once I have them at home, and you know, I'm going in. Keen's going to make me sound good because he's brilliant at what he does. The mics will be placed properly, and just play the songs, you know. So it felt good, you know. I know Louis Theroux is playing at the Cathedral Arts Festival, and there's a lyric in Money for Rope. He looks like an angry Louis Theroux. So if I can play that tune for him, I'll be happy as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Some in Belfast, you know. But,
but actually that was one of the songs that really jumped out at me as well, was Money for Rope, Healing the Harm, and then the title track Just for Today. And that duet between yourself and Megan. Like, did you know it? I presume you knew each other before you recorded that? Well,
we just met for the Fuckler Convos, and we played it, and we were chatting about just, you know, life as a musician in the documentary. So the connection was there, and we said we must, after the screening in the IFI in Dublin, we said we must record that now. And Keen was there, and I said we must record that song with you, Keen. So the session was essentially to record that song, and then sure, I was there on my own, and Dahi's in on his own, and you know, let the tape roll, and we have 9 songs and put it out. But look, you know, it's there for people to take it or leave it. I'm not trying to melt people's brains by releasing an album every week. It's just it was more reaffirming the autonomy as a musician.
I get that. And in terms of the industry, and you know, to your point that you just said, where you know you need a lead in of 6 months before you release an album.
I get that as well, you know. But
you know, but you just released Modern Mythologies. Like only a couple of months beforehand, and you just toured that as well.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me that when you have something to say, you have something to say, and you're always processing thoughts, and you've always got something to say. But then you kind of, you know, you allude to the system that it can suffocate expression by times because everything has to be so curated, whereas the rawness of this was its appeal, and that capture was its appeal, and the spontaneity just brought a particular energy to it.
Spontaneity is authenticity. Otherwise it's contrived, and it's, you know, I think you know, quality and depth in music is kind of sacrificed on the altar of virality now, or you know, jumping on a trend. And I know that that's the world that we live in.
It is, yeah.
But like, just because it is doesn't mean you have to totally throw in your lot with it to the expense of who you are as a person, or as a musician, or as a writer, or any kind of artist. Yeah, like, because there's so much noise, it's easy to get drawn away from who you are. But you need to remind yourself of who you are. You know, and we're all changing all the time in our music and what we're doing, but I never ever responded well, you know, in school, it all through life, of anybody telling me what to do, or telling me how I should vote, or what I should sound like, or who I should support as a football team. And as soon as people start doing that to me, I just get in my boat and start rowing away, because I need to make up my own mind on things.
It's a sure way to lose you.
I need to feel it here in my heart. Yeah. So if someone's ranting and raving at me, or telling me that I need to dress a certain way, I just turn away.
Yeah.
That's not to say that I'm closed-minded to taking people's opinions on board. It's not that. But you need to be able to stand in your own skin and remind yourself of why you write songs.
Yeah.
You know, and if something feels good in the moment, there's a giddiness in those recordings for me. It was actually kind of the same with my third album, Crude. We just let the tapes roll, and I was just, because I was cracked up trying to, you know, suit other people. And this is the David Keenan full band this is what it should be, and you're impressionable.
This
you
is
know,
the next move
this
for
is
you
the
in your
next thing.
career, and
This
this
is the
is
next
you
thing.
need to do this in order to get to that spot.
You're just a puppet on a string then for somebody else, and nobody else can live inside your mind or your heart or your skin. Or you know, you need good people around you. You know, and I have some great people in my life that I'm really, really, really thankful for. But it's things like that album that just reaffirm. Look, I'm a songwriter, and I'd be like Van Morrison. I'd be playing when I'm 80 odd. I'm not in this for the you know, the short term.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to fall back on. Talk about living precariously.
Yeah.
It's always been this, and it always will be this. Do you know? And you know,
But I'm getting the sense it has to be that because it's just who you are.
Yeah. And there's enough songs now for people to kind of tune in and tune out. Or I feel like I'm starting all over again. Do you know what I mean? I've been given this kind of new sense of freedom in the last couple of years in my life, you know, and I really feel like I'm starting again, you know, and I feel like the gigs are just more focused, and I'm getting better as a musician, as a writer, do you know? So it's brand new for me. I don't take it for granted. You know?
Speaking of the gigs, and you know, you speak to that the grassroots thing. For Modern Mythologies, you made a conscious decision how you were going to tour that album, and you purposely sought out the small towns, the local audiences. You know, you just craved that kind of that connection and that rawness. What you suppose did you get return on your investment?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Like, again, it was another decision because the Modern Mythologies tour technically isn't until this year, April. So last September, I was kind of at a loose end, and I was chatting to the agent, and we were talking. It was kind of like, you know, there's no gigs until April next year, but I have to be gigging. Like, I have to be gigging from my head. I have to be gigging to earn a few bob. So I put it up online, and I says, anywhere in Ireland where I should visit and play, local gems, community hubs, grassroots, anywhere. I'd play in a hairdresser's, and I did in Ballina for 2 nights.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, the converted hairdressers like co-op. So I got the grig done as well when I was there. No, so from Derry to Dingle and everywhere in between, you know, the village inn in Bohola, you know, was brought in. Here's a bowl of stew. Again, the connection. I've played in massive venues, and you're lucky to get a lukewarm bottle of water. I was just pissed off doing that. And I wasn't going to be waiting around. So I wanted to get out, to be rewilded, you know, like I'm supposed to be, as you say, a troubadour. Get out on the road. I need to be on the road. Let's visit a few wells on the way. Let's gather a few stories from the locality.
Yeah.
Let's become enriched by Ireland and the people and the
And
village.
let each of those places leave its imprint on you and on your music as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know.
What was the most raucous place? Because I'm sure everybody's singing your song.
Derry, straight away, Derry. Yeah.
Where did you play in Derry?
The Cuban Socialist Club.
Very good.
It's a new venue.
Sandino's, is it?
Not Sandino's, no. There's probably
That's Sean.
there's probably some Cuban socialists in there as well. But
I would say there might be. But there's a new venue in Derry.
yeah, we played there. We ended up in Sandino's afterwards.
Oh, there you go.
It's great crack, but yeah, it was wild. It was wild. The sound went, so I had to get in and busk in the venue, and then we went out onto the street, and there was a lad, and he comes to the gigs, and he's brilliant. But he came up on stage, took the top off. I was playing Evidence of Living. He was in my face, and he was like, "Come on!" And I was like, "Come on, human beings!" And the top off, and this t-shirt fucking going, and I was like, you know, this is what it's all about. Like, you know, no harm in it. It's just pure passion and.
Would there have been a time in your life, say, if the sound had gone and you were left on stage not knowing what to do, that would have impacted you in a different way?
Oh yeah, big time, yeah.
Yeah.
That Olympia gig in 2020, I think there was an intermission piece, and there was like a film that was projected, and the film didn't go on. I remember just the panic, because that's the difference now. I wanted everything to be perfect.
Yes.
There's no such thing as perfection. That was just control. That was anxiety. And now I'm the opposite. It's like, set a few things in motion, and you hopefully you'll get lightning in a bottle. You know, somebody will shout something out, and you can run with that. You know, that's the thing about the live gig. It's like, it's pure spontaneity. I don't use a set list. I know what I'm playing first, and then I'm kind of in. Do you know? And then we'll see. You know, you get a feel of the room, and that's why it's still interesting, and it's exciting and fresh all the time. You know. And you don't know who's going to show up and play a part in the gig.
And the new songs from Just for Today then, have you played any of those live yet?
No. No. Not yet.
That's going to be class.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've played them since I recorded them either, you know. So there's a real freshness there. There's the Modern Mythologies album, and then there's the 4 other albums, you know, that I've put out, or
That's going to be fantastic.
the EPs and stuff, and you know, like it's yeah.
And I know, like, if I'm labouring on this one, and I think you've kind of got the point now that I really love this song. But Healing After the Harm, you know, you talk about the 3 generations of post-traumatic stress and that, and you know, generational trauma. What do you think? What is it exactly that you're alluding to there? Because it seems to me, I suppose, coming from a place where obviously in the north here we relate to that in a particular way, and as a parent now, I view the whole generational trauma situation in a completely different way, where you're constantly trying not to project anything
yeah.
onto your child, which maybe was done unconsciously, you know, and happened completely unconsciously in the past.
Yeah.
Is that where you're coming from in this song?
Well, you see what you're after saying there? Like, there's major compassion in what you've just said. You know, because you know, growing up, you're looking to be loved, like, and you're looking to be accepted, and then you start blaming. You know, and like my parents were teenagers when I came along. We lived in a mobile home, like, you know, they lived in the mobile in my granny's garden. You know, it was a struggle for them. It was a struggle, and we're kind of, you know, there's only like 18 years between us, like, so we kind of grew up together, you know. But music was me, like, I was just different. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I kind of courted that. You are what you are.
Yeah.
We all have a different nature. And but like there comes a point where you have to own your own shit, and you have to look, as you say, at the context. Well, look at my father, and look at his upbringing, and look at his father's upbringing, and look at my great grandfather, and I know stories, because you get a read of people from growing up, and then you hear stories about what it was like for them. So am I going to carry on that, or am I going to try to break a chain with compassion and forgiveness and a bit of empathy? You know, that's another thing I'm lucky about. Like, music is an educator for me. Like, it gives you so much. It's brought me around the world. Like, I never thought I'd get to America, you know. It's brought me everywhere. It's educated me. It's given me all these things we're talking about, this language. But like my father, I'm not speaking for him, but he never had that.
Yeah.
He never had like the likes of, you know, being on tour with someone like Liam and Whaley. And again, you sit and you listen and you learn. And you, through osmosis, you grow, because you're around people like that. You know, I had that. That's the privilege that I've had. So I don't sit on a kind of a horse of superiority thinking, you know, it's anybody's fault. You just have to live your own way. But Healing After the Harm, sorry for veering off, but it's very simple. It's just all we carried on our backs when we were young, you know, throw it into the waves. It's gone. Let it go. You know, nobody, no matter what happens to people, I believe, nobody wants to carry that in their heart or in their chest. Nobody wants to walk around resenting somebody, because you're poisoning yourself. You're poisoning yourself, you know, with your own poison. And music reminds me of that, to let things go, and to, like, and just to embrace the fact that we are all flawed, imperfect people. You know, most people are doing their best, you know. Some people are totally off the rails, causing a lot of harm around them. But you can just own your own shit. And you have to put the fire out in your own head before you can start trying to fix anybody else, you know.
Anybody else? Well, it's very, very evident that you've been doing an awful lot of work on yourself, and that you're in a really good place. And I just think, just sitting listening to you, like, you're so wise. It just feels like you could listen to you, and a lot of people will, you know, hear an awful lot of sense, and maybe question their own actions, their own choices, their own feelings towards others, listening to you, David. And I think that comes across in your music as well. Would you look at the new album, Just for Today, would you say it's your boldest record yet?
Maybe it's taken everything, all the years of writing songs and thinking the very human thing of going, I want to make it. I want to make it. You know, this kind of this.
What is that? What does it mean?
This mythical place of making it. You know, once you make it, then everything will be different. Life just, you know.
If I could only get there, if I could only get that gig.
Get to the top of the ladder then, and I realise there is no ladder. You know, and it's just a fallacy. But I think it's if it's my boldest record yet, it's just because I've gotten to a place of letting go of, you know, trying to impress this, that, and the other. I just love music. I don't expect everybody to jump on this kind of adventure with me, but there's enough people coming to the gigs, and you see people getting a lot out of it, and people lighting up at the gigs. And as long as there's people turning up, you know, I'll keep doing it. You know,
they're lighting up surely, and they have been doing, particularly in Belfast. You're playing at the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival on the 7th of May. That's a Thursday night. But Belfast, you've been coming here since the very, very early days in your career.
Yeah.
I remember working in radio and you coming in for a chat ahead of you, going up to the Duncairn, and I know you had you started doing really brilliant gigs up there in the Duncairn. So Belfast has kind of had a special place for you the last while.
Yeah, big time. Even remember playing the open mic in the Limelight in the front bar, maybe 2015.
No way.
And then just the community here, like there's a real community here, like a real graw for community. And you know that the Belfast example, you know, I hope it ripples out throughout the country. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a new confidence, there's togetherness. You don't feel the begrudgery here as much as you do maybe in other places, you know, and that's probably just because of what people have come through. You know, that sense of togetherness and community. You know?
Or maybe you're coming at it from the outside and looking in.
I'm sure it's everywhere.
It's always the way, because people on the inside would say, oh, there's plenty of that now, David.
But I mean, the trad scene, the actors, the likes of Ray in the Duncairn, even though he probably wouldn't want me talking about
He wouldn't.
But I mean, he's, you know, the community leaders who kind of selflessly give of their time, you know, like you see it around the country. The real leaders in communities are the coaches in the boxing gyms teaching kids, or, you know, the lads picking up the cones for the football, or GAA. And you don't see it many other places. You see a lot of musicians actually. I think musicians probably do the most charitable work. You know, musicians are people in the arts community rally together and very quick to get behind causes. I think politicians get off lightly in this country. You know, I think they really, really do. I think musicians do a lot of the work for them.
I think that was spoken like a true disciple of Jinx Lennon.
Well, Jinx was pulling masks off people long before I came along. You know, he led the way, you know. He really did. And he's still doing. Every Jinx Lennon album feels as fresh as ever, you know. So
I think there's something about him where people want to hear what he's got to say, or what is he talking about? You know, what is it that he wants to get off his chest now? And I think that they're like that with you as well, with your music. Is like, what's he talking about now? Because you have a lot to say, and I love the fact that you are processing that and making the music and capturing all these different moments in your musical career. And also there's a social commentary in your music as well, I think. It's definitely coming through. Is that important for you?
I think it's important. I think music in itself is an end in itself. You know, I think you can say everything you need to say in a song to a degree, and that we need to remember that as well. Do you know what I mean? We need to remember that people slag off now, like the things that aren't essential. Poetry, you know, poetry, music, idealism, you know, romanticism. But you can say it all in a song, and a song can be very, very layered if people would listen, you know. But with TikTok and everything, and brevity and attention spans, that
instant gratification
that can be cast aside, you know. But there is a kickback. I think people are oversaturated as well, and they're looking for something that's authentic, and they're looking to listen to a song where you can hear the creaking of the chair. You know, you can hear somebody breathing, because that's how humans sound. Humans aren't perfect. Humans aren't walking around filtered. you know, we are imperfect, and I think music should reflect that. And lyrics are so important to me. Like, I love lyrics. You know, I love reading. I love language, because it's a tool. Like, it's a tool for expression.
It comes across in your writing and in your songs, I have to say, in spades, David. Do you know what? I'm just looking at you and I see this. David Keenan brought a fortune cookie in with him today, and he says we'll open it for the crack on the podcast. And I thought, yeah, we will. Would you like to? Will you open it?
Okay, I'll do the honours.
Go on, you do the honours. See what the fortune cookie says.
The galaxy is in Orion's belt.
I was gonna end the podcast. Well, what's next for David Keenan? But sure, look, we'll find out now.
You have 6 minutes to live. You want to crack it?
But just no, you crack it. Go on. Let's see.
There you go. My first podcast, Lynette, and first time I've ever cracked a fortune cookie on a podcast, and I haven't got my binoculars on, so we can't even read it.
What does it say?
Your success will be a beacon of hope. There you go.
No way.
That's for you.
Your success will be a beacon of hope. After the conversation we've just had, honestly,
Thanks, Ma. Thanks for planting that.
Mr. Fortune Cookie. That's quite the message to end on. David Keenan, lovely as always to talk to you. Níl away has art gur míle maigad héan David agus gynnéir go galia to mahan seo. Míle buhis.
Thanks a lot.